So for today's tutorial, we are going to need some yarn. I am using a weight for acrylic yarn. We will need a 5mm crochet hook, some scissors, a needle, and a measuring tape. Before we begin, we will need a few measurements. The mandatory measurements will be our waist measurement and our hip measurement. The other measurements, I just kind of try them on as I go. But if you're making them for someone else or you want to measure it, you can measure your crotch depth, which is going to be the top of your waistband to your crotch, so where you will be splitting your capris. The other measurement would be a full length measurement. These are capris, so I'm going to make mine to end right below the knee. You can make yours shorter, longer, however, but if you want to take a full measurement, it would be from the top of that waistband to the length that you would like them. But those two measurements I don't use, I just try them on as I go and decide that I've reached the length I want. Okay, but to start, our first measurement we'll need is that waist measurement that we took. And then we're going to take our yarn and we're going to start at the waistband. Okay, so we're starting with the waistband. To start, we are going to make a slip knot, attach our yarn, and we're going to make a chain. This chain is going to be the width, so the thickness of our waistband. So you don't have to do the same amount as me. I am going to chain 10, which is going to be 9 stitches plus a turning chain. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, now if you want a thicker waistband, go ahead and you can add more stitches. If you want yours to be a smaller waistband, you can do less stitches. All right, and then we're going to yarn over and we're going to work back down our chain, skipping the first stitch and into the second stitch with a half double crochet. Okay, and then we are going to place a half double crochet into every stitch until the end. Okay, so I did a chain 10, which was again 9 stitches plus a turning chain. So once I get finished with this row 1, I will have 9 half double crochets. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And this is going to be how thick my waistband is. Okay, now for the row 2, we will chain 1. We're going to turn our work, and then we're going to be working into the back loops. That's going to give a ribbed look for our waistband. So we'll yarn over. In the back loop up top, you'll see the stitches are kind of shaped like V's. So we're going to go into the back loop only with a half double crochet. And we're going to do that all the way down. So again, I will have 9 stitches once I finish. If you did a different number, just go ahead, count at the end of each row if you're not sure, just so that you're not losing any stitches. Okay, but we're placing a half double crochet into the back loop only of every stitch. You can double check by counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, and then that row right there, row 2, is what we will be repeating for the entire waistband. So again, we'll chain 1, turn our work, yarn over into the back loop only with a half double crochet. And then just make sure you're not losing any stitches, so you can count every few rows, or if you know, that's just what I do, so I make sure I didn't lose any stitches. And then we're just going to repeat that again. So we'll chain 1, turn into the back loop only with a half double crochet. yarn is tangled here, so I think I'm gonna stop here and then let you guys continue. As you can see, it's kind of starting to create a rib look. You'll notice as we get a little further. But we're just gonna keep repeating this over and over until this waistband reaches our waist measurement. When you do take that measurement, I would slightly stretch your waistband when you're taking it, because if you don't, this yarn, it is going to stretch and it will be really big if you measure it flat to your waist measurement. Now, if you are using a different yarn that doesn't stretch, go ahead and measure to that, but I just want to suggest slightly stretching when you measure. So give it a slight stretch like this, not too much, but slightly stretch it when you take that measurement. And then just continue that. I'm going to continue until I reach my measurement, and then I'll show you guys what it looks like at that point. All right, so once our waistband measures our waist measurement, we're going to close our band. So we will chain 1, and then we're going to take both ends of our band together, hold them together, and we're going to slip stitch them closed. We're going to go into the back loops. So go into the back loop of the first band and then go into the corresponding stitch of the beginning and slip stitch. And again into the next. And we're going to do that in every stitch. So again, I have 9 total, so I will be doing 9 slip stitches to close. Okay, and then going into this back loop is just going to give it a smoother finish than if we went into the actual stitch. And then into the last. All right, and then we're going to chain 1, and then that's basically going to be turned inside out. So that slip stitch side that we just did is going to be on the inside. And it should look something like this. Okay. Now we're going to be working on the body. So we're going to start increasing until we get to our hip measurement. The first row is going to be an increase row. So we did our chain 1. And then we're going to go around placing 2 half double crochets into each row. So we're going into the side of our rows now. So into each row, you're going to place 2 half double crochets. Okay. So again, we're just placing an increase into each row. Again, we're working on the sides of our waistband, or the all right, and we're just going to do this all the way around, placing 2 half double crochets into every row. Okay, so I just went around placing 2 half double crochets into each row. Now I'm back at the beginning. I'm going to slip stitch into that first half double crochet. Now we will chain 1 and turn. Okay, and then this row, we're going to place 1 half double crochet into each stitch. So starting with that first space, I'm going to place 1 half double crochet. Okay, so that chain 1 does not count as a stitch. You'll place your half double crochet into that same space. And then we are just going to go around, placing 1/2 double crochet in every stitch around. Okay, so no increases, just 1/2 double crochet into each stitch. So I'm just going to finish around, placing 1/2 double crochet in each stitch until we get back to the beginning. Okay, so I just went around placing 2 1/2 double crochets into each row. Now I'm back at the beginning. I'm going to slip stitch into that first 1/2 double crochet. Now we will chain 1 and turn. Okay, and then this row, we're going to place 1/2 double crochet into each stitch. So starting with that first space, we're going to place 1/2 double crochet. Okay, so that chain 1 does not count as a stitch. You'll place your 1/2 double crochet into that same space. And then we are just going to go around, placing 1/2 double crochet in every stitch around. Okay, so no increases, just 1/2 double crochet into each stitch. So I'm just going to finish around, placing 1/2 double crochet in each stitch until we get back to the beginning. All right, so I'm at the end of my row 2, which was a regular 1/2 double crochet row. So no increases. We just placed 1/2 double crochet in each stitch. Now we will slip stitch to the first 1/2 double crochet. And then before we go on to the next row, we are going to count how many stitches we have around. So I've already done that. I have 124 stitches. Okay, so go ahead and count your stitches. And we're going to do this once. So you are going to need some stitch markers. When I do this, which this is just a suggestion, you don't have to. I usually do 2 of the same color and then 1 that is a different color. These 2 are going to mark our corner spots, which is going to be our hips, which is where we will increase. And this is going to mark our middle stitch, which is where we will split our legs. Okay, so go ahead and count how many stitches you have around. Okay, so now we're going to take that number that we got. If you have a odd number, that is fine. Just round down any of your measurements. So one side may have 1 extra stitch, but it won't make a difference. So that's fine. I did end up having an even number this time. So I have 124. I'm going to divide that first by 2. So divide that in half. That's going to give me 62. Okay, so that is going to be my middle stitch where my legs will split. Then we'll take that number again and divide it by 4. That's going to give me 31. So whatever number you get here, that is how many stitches we're going to count out both ways to mark our hip measurement. I'll show you what I mean. Okay, so starting from here, I'm first going to count whichever way. I'm going to count out for me, 31 stitches. So the one that we divided by 4. Okay, so I have 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so here is my 31st stitch. I'm going to place a stitch marker there. And I'm going to go ahead and continue from there to get to my middle. So I'm going to count to my number that was divided by 2. So for me, that is 62. So I'm at 31, 32. Okay, so here is my middle stitch. I'm going to place my middle stitch marker right there. Okay, then now we're going to go back here to the beginning. And we are going to start again at that first stitch and count out our hip measurement. So again, 31 for me, going in the opposite direction. Okay, so 31, I'm going to place my stitch marker there. Okay, and then now it looks like this. We should have 2 stitch markers on, one on each end, and then one here in the middle. Okay, and then, so we started off with an increase row, then we just did a regular row with no increases. So our next row, we're going to alternate. Our next row is going to be another increase row. We're not going to increase into every stitch. We're going to chain 1. We're going to turn, which we will do at the end of every row. We'll chain 1 and turn. And then this time we're going to place 1/2 double crochet in each stitch until we get to our stitch marker. Okay, so no increases. This is an increase row, but we have not increased yet. We're placing 1/2 double crochet in every stitch until we get to our very first stitch marker. All right, once we get here to our first stitch marker, we're going to take out that stitch marker for just a moment. And in that stitch, we're going to do an increase. We're going to place 3 half double crochets into that stitch. Okay, so 3 half double crochets all into that same stitch. Then we'll take our stitch marker, and out of those 3, we're going to place our stitch marker into the middle stitch. Okay, and then we're just going to continue around, placing half double crochets into every stitch. Once we get to our middle stitch, we do not want to increase there. We're just going to take it out, place 1/2 double crochet, and then place it back there. That's just going to keep track of our middle so we don't have to go around counting our stitches again. Okay, so 1/2 double crochet in every stitch. Do not forget to put that middle stitch marker back in, and then continue until you get to your last stitch marker, which is going to be another increase. All right, and I'm now coming up to my middle stitch marker. Oops. Which I'm going to take out for just a moment. I'm going to place 1/2 double crochet in there and place my stitch marker, oops, right back. Okay, and then just continue to the next stitch marker. So here I am at the last stitch marker. I'm going to go ahead and take it out. And then we're going to do the same thing that we did at our first stitch marker for our increase, which is 3 half double crochets all into that stitch. And then we take our stitch marker and place that into that middle stitch. And then now we'll continue regular half double crochets all the way until the end of the row. All right, so here we are at the end of our row. Just like every row, we will slip stitch to the first half double crochet. We're going to chain 1 and turn our work. And then that was the end of row 3. So every odd row is going to be an increase row. Every even row is going to be a no increase row. So this row is a no increase row. We're going to place a half double crochet in that same stitch. And this time we're just going around, no increases, just placing a half double crochet in every stitch. Okay, so once we get to our stitch markers, all 3 of them, we're just going to place 1 stitch in that space and then place our stitch marker right back in there. Okay, and then we are going to alternate these. It'll be an increase row and then a regular row, increase row, regular row. All right, so go ahead and repeat that. This again is no increases. We're just placing a half double crochet in every stitch. My next row, I will be increasing here at the hips at our first and last stitch marker. Okay, and then at that point, we will continue that until, let me show you here, until we get to, so you should have your hip measurement. I have a 44-inch hip that I'm going for here. So we're going to measure till we get to our hip measurement. Now, of course, it's in a circle now, so it's closed off. So divide your hip measurement in half, and that's what we're going to measure this to, basically. So again, I said mine was 44, so I will be shooting for a 22-inch measurement from end to end. Again, slightly stretched when you take that measurement. Okay, so I have about 2 more inches to go. But go ahead and do your alternating rows. Again, alternating between an increase row and a regular row. Odd numbers being your increase row, even numbers being your regular no increase row. Okay, I hope that makes sense. I'm gonna continue that off camera, and then when I come back, I'll show you guys what it should look like once you've reached your hip or your half hip measurement. Okay, and then just gonna show you this real quick. We're not increasing, so I took it out, placed my stitch, and I'm gonna place it right back in. I'm just gonna do that all around. Okay, I'll meet you guys back once I reach my hip measurement. Okay, so this is what it should somewhat look like at this point. You'll see it starting to increase. I have reached, when lightly stretched, I am reaching my 22 inches. Oops. Okay, so go ahead and make sure, or continue until that reaches your hip measurement. And then once you get there, we're now going to take that crotch depth measurement that we either took or you will try it on as you go. But measure from where you want your waistband to sit all the way until where your crotch, where we would split our legs. So go ahead and measure that I think mine's about 8 inches. I just continue and try it on as I go. So that's what I'm going to do, but go ahead, you can take that measurement. And then at this point, we're going to stop increasing. So we can actually take out our corner stitches here. Leave that middle one in there for when we split our legs, but take out your 2 corner stitches. And then we're just going to continue what we were doing before, except we're not doing any more increase rows. Okay, so we're just going to do regular rows, no increase. Oops. Okay, and then this is pretty simple. I'm not going to have you guys sit here and watch me do it, so I will continue. But once you reach your hip measurement, we're going to continue regular rows, no more increases. Take out those hip stitch markers, and we'll just continue around and around. Remember, we alternate each row, so once we do our slip stitch, we chain 1 and turn, and then just repeat that over and over until you reach the length you need for your crotch depth. And then we'll go about splitting our legs. Okay, so I think that's pretty simple. I'm going to go ahead and continue that. Then I'll show you guys what it should look like and how we'll move on to our legs. All right, so here we are. I have reached the length that I need here. So when I measure this, and this is measuring unstretched, I have about 9 inches. Okay, so again, I just kind of tried that on as I went. And that is how far I'm going to go before I decide to split my legs. So once we're here, we're going to start by making a chain. Now this chain, you can measure from front to back to decide how long you need that chain, or make a chain and see if it fits, which is, again, what I do. So I already made my chain 1. I'm going to chain a total of 12. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 11, 12. I'm actually going to do 14, 13, 14. I think that might be better. But once we make our chain, we are going to go into our space where we placed our stitch marker, so our middle stitch, and we're going to place a slip stitch across. Okay, now before you move on, I do suggest trying these on. If your chain is too short, when you put these on, your waistband is going to drag downwards. And if your chain is too long, you'll notice it's going to be, once we start our legs, it'll be kind of bunchy here in the crotch area. So just go ahead and try it on before we move on. I'm actually going to do that really quick and then I'll come back. Okay, so I tried mine on and this is going to work for me. We're going to be working one leg at a time. So what we do for one leg, we will do for the other. If you would like, you can write down, which I'll show you in a moment, but you can write down how many rows you did just to make sure that your legs are even, or just, you know, keep track however you want. But at this point, we did our slip stitch. I'm actually going to take that stitch marker out of there. We don't need that anymore. And I'm going to chain 1. And now we're going to work all the way around. We're going to place a half double crochet into that same space that we slip stitched into. And we're just going to work our way around, placing a half double crochet in each space. And then I forgot to mention, when you do your slip stitch, just make sure that your chain, or when you do your chain, make sure your chain is not twisted. But we'll just continue all the way around, placing a half double crochet into each space. And then once we get back to, or once we get here, so to our chain, I will go into the chains. I'm just going to continue this around until I get there, and then I'll show you guys how to do that. so I worked my half double crochets all the way around. I'm now at the beginning of the chain, and then however many chains you did, so again I did 14, so I know that I'm going to be placing 14 half double crochets here, just so that you don't miss any. I would go ahead and count, but we are just going to place a half double crochet into every chain across. And that is 14 for me. Now we're back here at the beginning, and we are just like every row before, we will slip stitch to the first half double crochet. Okay, and that is going to be row 1 for our leg. For row 2, we will chain 1. We're going to turn our work. Sorry, my yarn is tangled here. But for row 2, we are going to do the same thing we have been doing. So we'll half double crochet into that same space, and then we're just going to place a half double crochet into every space all the way around until we get back here, back here to the beginning. Okay, so rows 1 and 2 of our leg is just going to be a half double crochet into every space around. And then once we get to row 3, we'll start decreasing. Okay, so just finished row 2, which again was a half double crochet in every space. We're going to slip stitch, chain 1, and turn. Okay, and now at this point, if you want, you can take 2 stitch markers. I don't do this, but I just want to give it as a suggestion. I kind of just eyeball it. But if you want, you can find the corner here and the corner over here. So the inner side of our capris and the outer side of our capris, and place a stitch marker on each side if you want. We're just going to, when we do our decreases, we're going to want it to be on the inside and outside. So yeah, you can do stitch markers if you like. I do not do that. I just kind of eyeball it. So let me see here. Yeah, so I am going to work my way around, and really you can place the decreases anywhere. It doesn't really have to be on the sides. I just kind of do that to make sure that they're sort of spread evenly, but you can really place them whenever. Just make sure you do 2 decreases on each decrease row. But I'm gonna go ahead, and if I were to have marked this, my middle, kind of working on the front here, but the middle would kind of be a little over here, so I'm not going to decrease till I start coming around, and then I'll decrease in this corner. So I'll show you. So just continue with your half double crochets. Okay, so I'm coming up to my edge here, and again, these decreases do not need to be perfect. Don't stress over them. I don't even put a stitch marker on mine, so I'm kind of just decreasing wherever I think looks like the edge. It's not really going to make a difference, but we're going to do a half double crochet decrease now. So we're going to yarn over, insert our hook, pull through, yarn over into the next stitch, insert our hook, pull through. You have 5 loops on your hook here, yarn over and pull through all 5 of them. Okay, and then just continue placing half double crochets all the way until you make another half double crochet, which could be over here towards the other corner. I'll show you guys again once I get there. Okay, so now I'm headed over here towards where my inner thigh would be. And I'm going to place another decrease. So again, we'll yarn over, insert our hook, pull through, yarn over into the next stitch, pull through, yarn over and pull through all 5 of those loops. Then I'm just going to finish around placing half double crochets in each space. And then once we get back to the beginning, do our slip stitch, chain 1, and turn. Okay, and that's how we will do a decrease row. We're now going to alternate. We're going to do 2 regular rows like we did before. So that's 2 rows with no decreases, and then that 3rd row will be a decrease. Okay, and then we'll go again, 2 regular rows, 1 decrease, 2 regular, 1 decrease. Okay, so this next row is just going to be a regular row, so no decreases. Okay, and we're just going to repeat that until we reach the length that we need. So that is going to take me a bit. So I will write on screen the steps that you can take, and then I do recommend this poppet thing. I got this off of Amazon. This is very helpful. I will try to link it in the description if I'm able to. I did get it a while ago. But track your rows however you like. You can count them, write it down, whatever you will, but I'm just going to go ahead and do this so that the next leg is exactly the same. Okay, but go ahead, continue your rows, and then I'll meet you back and I'll show you guys what mine looks like, and then we'll go from there. Okay, once we reach the length of our capris, we are going to chain 1, and then we will cut our work. And then it should look something like this. As you can see, it starts to get kind of smaller here towards the end. Now, I tracked my rows. I did a total of 35 rows. Yours may be different, that's fine. When I tried mine on as I went, and when I got to about 25 rows, instead of doing 2 regular rows, then 1 decrease, 2 regular, 1 decrease, I started doing every other row. So I would do 1 regular row, 1 decrease, 1 regular row, and that was from row 24 to 35, which was slightly above my knee until the end. And I just did that so that it was a bit tighter. I did want it tighter around my knee, so I went ahead and did that. Now you can do that if you need. I would just suggest trying them on as you go to figure out, you know, what you need to do if you need to decrease a bit quicker like I did. Okay, so that's the end of the first leg. Now to start our second leg, we will turn our work. So we're at the back of our project, which is where our seam line is. We're going to start back here so that we can keep our seam line in the back. And we're going to take our yarn, attach to our hook, and then right here, where the leg and the bottom meets, is where we'll attach our yarn. Just attach it right in there. And then we're just going to pretty much repeat, well, we are going to repeat what we did for this leg. So we're going to start with 2 regular rows and then a decrease row. Once you attach your yarn, chain 1 into that same space with a half double crochet. Okay, and then just work your way around, placing a half double crochet in every space. Okay, so now you're literally just going to repeat what you did for the other leg. It's pretty much the same thing. I just showed you how to attach your yarn for the second leg, and then just go ahead and continue.
you'll work your way around here, and then you'll see that it's starting your second leg. Okay, so go ahead, do exactly what you did for this leg on this leg, and then we'll meet back and we'll go from there, okay? Okay, and then I just wanted to show you guys right here, because once we get here, this is basically, we're working on the other side of our chain that we did when we split our legs. So just make sure you don't skip any stitches. Just remember how many chains you had in the beginning. So for me, I had 14. So to make sure I don't skip any, I'm just going to count how many I do right here. That's going to be 14 for me. Alright, then slip stitch to the half double crochet, chain 1 and turn, and that is row 1. And then now just go ahead and repeat exactly what you did for the other leg, and then we'll meet back once we're finished, okay? Okay, you guys, so once we finish both of our legs, we should have something like this. Okay, so at this point, if you want to be finished, you can. You'll just weave in these two ends. I am going to add a drawstring and some ruffling here at the bottom. I'm going to add a white ruffle, so I do have my white color here. This part is optional, but I'm going to show you guys how I do that next. Okay, so we're going to take our color for our ruffle. We're going to make a slip knot, attach our yarn, and then into any stitch, we're going to make a slip stitch to attach. Okay, and then at that point, we're going to chain 3. And I'm just going to work over this tail here. And into that same space, we're going to place 2 more double crochets. Into the next with 2 double crochets. Into the next with 3 double crochets. Into the next with 2, and then we're just going to be alternating this all the way around. So in one stitch we'll do 3 double crochets, and then into the next we'll do 2 double crochets. Okay, so you're going to alternate between 3 double crochets and 2 double crochets all the way around, and you should see that it will start to create a ruffle, and then as we add more rows, our ruffle would become larger and more ruffly. And then I like to just work over my tails, including my main color tail here once I get there. That way we don't have to weave anything in. Okay, so just go ahead and alternate between your 3 double crochets and 2 double crochets all the way until we get back to the beginning of where we started. I'm gonna go ahead and finish this and meet you back at the beginning of the row. So I'm coming up at the end of my first row. Okay, and then to finish off the row, we are going to slip stitch into the third chain of our chain 3. And then we're going to do one more row, so we're going to chain 3. And then into that same space with 2 more double crochets. Okay, into the next with 2 double crochets. Into the next with 3. Oops. Into the next with 2. And we're just going to do this all the way around. So exactly what we did for that first ruffle row, we'll do the same. We're alternating between 3 and 2 double crochets. Once we get back to the beginning, we will slip stitch to the chain 3, and then we will fasten off and cut our work, and we'll be done with our ruffles. And then go ahead and do the same to the other leg. Alright, so to finish off our ruffle row, we slip stitch to the chain 3, we chain 1, and then we cut our work. And then this is what we have. I did finish both legs, so we have our ruffles at the end. Now all we need to do here is weave in our ends. Okay, I'm going to do that at the end. Now I'm going to do my drawstring, which the drawstring, there's multiple ways to do it. If you want just a regular drawstring that ties in the front, just make a really long chain. Make sure that that chain is long enough to go around your waist, and also have some extra slack to tie in the front comfortably. Okay, so you can do it that way. You can make a chain, then you can go back down your chain with either a single crochet, half double crochets, or double crochets. That's just going to depend on how thick you want yours. This is what a double crochet will get you. This is how thick it will be. I am going for a thick waistband. However, I'm not going to have mine tie in the middle. I'm actually going to be making 2 waistbands. I'm sorry, 2 drawstrings that tie on the sides. So I've made one already. I will show you how I made that. So I start by making a really long chain. Take my color, make a slip knot, and then we're just going to start with the long chain. And again, this is going to be based on how long you want yours. You can do yours longer or shorter. You can do really whatever you want here. I am going to make a chain of 200. Okay, so here is my chain of 200. Now I'm going to work back down my chain using double crochets. So to do that, I'm going to yarn over. I'm going to skip the first 2 stitches, and into the third I will place a double crochet. Into the next stitch with a double crochet. And then I'm just going to continue placing 1 double crochet into every stitch until I get to the other end. And then if you did not want yours this thick, you could go back using half double crochets or single crochets if you like. So once we get to the end of our drawstring, we do our last double crochet or your last stitch, whatever stitch you used, chain 1, and then we'll cut our yarn, and then there we have our drawstring. Now to insert our drawstring, I've inserted this one over here. I kind of just laid my project flat, decided where I wanted my drawstring to come out, and then I took my needle and I just kind of pulled it through any space. Okay, and then I'm just kind of going to weave it in and out throughout. Skip a couple rows of my waistband and pull it through the other way. Then I'll skip a couple, I'll pull it back through here. And then just do that as many times as you like. Just make sure that once you're finished, your drawstring, of course, is coming out. So I'm going to do one more here. So it's on the outside of your capris, of course, so you can tie it. Okay, and then this, once I'm wearing them, this will pull tight, and I will tie it like this. Okay. And then at this point, the only thing we need to do now is weave in our ends. And then this is the finished look here. I will weave in my ends, and then I would come back and just show you guys what they look like on.
Sway.